Welcome, everyone, to the Wakelet Community Showcase. I am your host today, Tisha Poncio, Community Engagement for Wakelet, and I'm here with two of our fabulous ambassadors and a trainer. And we've got some really, I see you guys in the chat already ready for this. Here's the thing. My hosting was last minute, and now you're going to get a party. This is a party. We've already decided. But I am here with Stevie and Cheryl. I'm going to toss it over to them so they can give you a quick intro about who they are, what their expertise is, and maybe where you can find them this summer. Stevie?
Hi, everyone. I am so excited and thrilled to be here anytime that I can share and just talk anything Wakelet and be in the same space as Tisha and her amazing hair at all times at every single webinar. I am here for that. And I'm so excited to be here with Cheryl as well. We'll get to more of our connections later. But my name is Stevie Frank. I am a digital learning coach at my district located here in Zionsville, Indiana. And I am also a learning specialist. So I do different trainings and do different consulting and content creation. So, okay, that's everything. Cheryl, I'm going to punt it to you.
All right. So it is definitely a party. Woo! And I hope you guys are ready with some music there in your background. But anyway, I'm Shara Dickerson. I'm from El Paso, Texas, and I am the director of digital and learning resources here in El Paso ISD. So yes, 27 years in education, and we're still going and rocking it and trying to make a difference in the lives of students. So just like Stevie and Tisha, I am so excited to be here. And hopefully the resources we're going to share with you would be very helpful as you continue to improve and develop in using Wakelet.
So I love one that I've been connected with both of you for a really, really long time and in completely different ways. Cheryl, I'm going to be in El Paso in a couple of weeks. So we'll have to connect. I have no doubt that if you are in the chat right now, so I don't know if you guys can see all of the people in the chat, but if you see anybody that you know, shout them out. I'm going to shout out Alex Isaacs because I feel like he's gone to every webinar with me. We were doing Novel Effect last night with Curapod and book creator. And we're here with you today. But I see a lot of our community members. Lois is out there. Mohammed, shout out to you. Anybody you see, Stevie or Cheryl?
Yes, definitely. Mohammed. Hi, Mohammed.
Hi, Mohammed.
Hope to see you soon.
They're
and
so
hi, Jacqueline.
Yes. Yes. I was like trying to go back through the chat. Lois, Jackie, Sandy's out there. It's so good to see all of you. I think what's going to happen is you're going to get a lot of surprises today. So if you're here, be ready to take notes, and we're going to send out the collection for this webinar after the webinar because we have that many surprises for you. We don't want to stick to a script, if you will, for once. And then the certificate, we'll put it in the chat before the webinar is over. So I'm going to go ahead and give it over to Stevie and Cheryl. They're going to present. They're going to share things with you. I'm going to just stay here muted with all of you, and we'll just have a discussion. How about that?
Sounds great.
Sounds great. So I'm so thrilled to be chatting with you today. If I could go ahead and start sharing my screen and one of my favorite Wakelet collections. So with your question, Tisha, where you were like, where can you catch me? I am having the summer of travel and I am having the summer of conferences. Like it is a lot. So I'm going to be at so many different areas. A lot of different conferences in my home state. I am going to ISTE. If anybody's going to ISTE, I would love to have you throw that into the chat, so I can look forward to seeing you there. And then I'm also going to be presenting at a virtual conference that is at ISD as well. So I'm really excited to be a part of that. And it is going to be a lot. So to dive right into that big topic of travel, I am a travel enthusiast and I love traveling. My most recent travel I went to was Turks and Caicos, which was amazing and stunning. And now I am almost afraid to try any other vacation because that was such an amazing time. But I also love to be adventurous. So some of my most adventurous travels have been going to Alaska and Iceland. And so those were super fun and not as cold as you would think it was probably the time that I went. So I always love hearing about where the latest and greatest places are to travel. So if you want to throw that into the chat too, I love learning and hearing about new locations and I cannot wait to as well. So where did I come up with this collection? I felt like people kept coming to me and asking me for my expertise or my opinion on, well, how should I pack for these conferences? Or how should I travel light? Or how do you, Stevie, always travel using carry-on? And so I'm going to share with you one of my favorite collections that I had created on Wakelet to help give this information. Now, I'm also going to start with the caveat because I am not you and I am not the expert of you. So always make sure that while I'm giving you this advice, it does not by any means this is the end all be all, right? So I would love for you to just kind of take it, spin it with your own vibe, and then maybe you can even copy my collection into yours and add it and make it your own so that you can share it out too as well. So let's dive in. So some of my favorite traveling tips, and so none of these are linked to where I get any sort of compensation. So I just want to make sure I put that out there. These are all just strictly the greatest things that I have purchased and I have found that have been really super helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my top traveling tips that I have. So here on this collection, I always do carry-on at all costs. So I will rarely ever check a bag. And that was even included when I went to Europe for 2 weeks. I always did a carry-on. It just made it easier. I haven't had the lost luggage in for, situations. So I always try to make sure that I do that. Now, how do I do that? I travel extremely light. So I am also linked here. One of my favorite podcasts, which is the Minimalists podcast, because they really talk about not utilizing a lot and not having a lot of extra stuff. And so I know this is going to kind of blow some people's minds because I always feel like people are like, how in the world can you fit all of that into here? So I kind of go at it from a minimalist effect, and that just kind of weeded through my entire life. I also follow somebody on Instagram. Her name is Aja Babur, and she is phenomenal when it comes to giving information about what fast fashion is. And so whenever I make purchases, my purchases might be a little more pricey, but I always try to purchase less. So that way I know it lasts a little bit longer. So those are some of my different platforms and some of my thoughts behind the why. So I have linked both of those accounts on here on my Wakelet collection, which will be shared out to all of you as well, if you want to give them a follow and kind of learn too. So one of my favorite, and I would have to say probably nerdiest things that I do is I plan out every single one of my outfits. So what I do is I take a look at all of my calendar of events, and I am very specific with what I put into each of my calendars, the night events that I'm doing, and I really try to get all of my stuff scheduled. So then that way I can take a look at my full day and say, okay, well, what would I want to wear and what should I pack for each of those days? Then what I do is I actually take a picture of it with my phone, and then I will draw, or, I have an iPhone. So then I can actually type on there, and I'll type in what day of the week it is. So then that way I'm like, okay, Monday I'm wearing this. Monday night, I have to go to this event. I have to make sure I change. And so that's some of what I do that really kind of helps. Now, usually whenever I know in my team controller chaos, so I'd love for you guys to guess on that one. So part of why I do that is also because it takes the stress out of the actual conference. So a lot of times if I'm waking up, I'm, trying to get as much sleep as I can. I wake up and I'm like, okay, I got to go to this. And sometimes just getting to the convention center and getting fed is enough. So if I cannot stress out about, well, what am I going to wear? That's going to make my morning go that much smoother. So that's some of that, what I do, just not only at conferences, but also in my personal travel. I'm not so planned in my personal travel as much as I am with the conference ones. But those are just some of those tips that I used.
Okay, Stevie, I'm going to interrupt you because I think it's interesting. I think we need to find out just where you are right now. If Shero does the exact same thing. Shero, do you do the exact same thing as Stevie and plan out your outfits?
I do, but I'm always the overpacker.
So you aren't doing carry-on luggage. You're checking it back.
I need to have something checked in.
Well, so here's the other question. Stevie, I really do love this. I think if you are not team control, you should probably go make a copy of this. The other thing I was going to say is as Team Chaos, I do pretty much what you do, Stevie, and I think people will be surprised at that. I actually organize my outfits not just by day, but the way that I put them in my luggage. Like there is an order to that by day. So I think it's really interesting. I probably all the tips you're about to share, I'm right aligned with you. So all of you out there thinking that I was not Stevie in this regard, I am. Talk about traveling to Europe with a carry-on. I did that, Stevie.
Yes, I remember you said that you had done that.
I know you'd be proud of that, but yeah,
Proud.
so it'd be interesting for all three of us to go on a trip together and see what that would be like.
I would
Where are we
probably
going?
tell you guys, can you carry my luggage?
Well, Stevie, we don't know where we're going, but you're going to plan it. We're just going to show up.
Well, that sounds great. So I'm here for those conversations too as well. So let's come. So maybe here's some more ideas. So I love the idea of the different packing. So Tisha, I'm going to jump to ahead because I think, and Cher, I think this would work with you too. So it's not only do I not pack a lot, but I also shove a lot. So when I say shove a lot, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. My packing cubes here was because those are meant to compress your stuff. And if you put like a bunch of stuff in it, it's maybe like this big. And then by the time I compress it, it can kind of come down to this. So I will forever be a packing cube girly because I'm always trying to do my packing cubes. Now, I also put on pink on here because I'm kind of a diva at different things. And so those are one of the things that, because a lot of people are like, oh, she must not bring a lot. But I'm like,
packing cubes.
I shove.
You are right. You could get so much in a packing cube. That should be a contest. How many day outfits could you put in a packing cube? Mine, though, Stevie, I don't have any. They're black. They match my luggage. So I'm really boring.
So no, you're going to love the aesthetic of this, Tisha, because notice as I'm like scrolling through how much is black. So don't you worry, girl. Like I've got you here with all of my love of black and neutrals. I throw in pink for a pop of color, just to be honest. So too many shoes. So I see that question here. So I'll jump down to that one. I only bring about 2 pairs of shoes and then maybe running shoes if I'm taking those on the plane and I feel like I want to either work out or do something like that. So I know that is very hard to keep. One of my favorite shoes, and these travel very well, are Rothy's. These are so stinking comfortable. I'm also in and out of 3-4 different buildings almost every day sometimes. And so for me to be comfy on my feet, like these are amazing. And I never have feet pain after these. Speaking of the black aesthetics, and ladies, I'm curious to know some of your favorites because I feel like we all have our staple conference attire. And these are going to be like my 2 like staples. So I love a good sweater blazer just because it can also be worn at night and it's not super formal. So I linked one of my favorite ones here. And then also a good pair of black slacks. Now I'm also going to blow some people's minds. You can wear the same pants more than once. So you don't have to feel like you have to change each and every, I have to have brand new pants or I have to have brand new this. Like there is so much more that you can, pack in there. If you start to say, okay, if I wear this pant, this day and this day, okay, then I can, add in another shirt. I never rewear the same shirt though. So that one I do. But those are some of my favorite spots. I also highly recommend TSA pre-check. So if you are one of those people that you like to show up 2 hours early, first off, hats out to you. The only time I will show up that early is if I have to get some work done. But TSA PreCheck has saved me hours of just being able to go on there. And so Alex, I love that it's the fashion. This is a
I was about to ask you, but it's cracking me up. The chat, if you're not watching it, yeah. So the staple that I have, so I feel like we have a very similar wardrobe, but the staple is I'll try to do a different color blazer because obviously I'm in uniform the majority of the time. So I have a blue blazer and I have a black one and have a polka dotted one. And then I have different skirts. Now, if I'm not in Wakelet attire, see, that's where it gets me though, Stevie, because I do have to switch out to at least 2 different times at a conference, right? So some people do
and the sequin blazer, right?
Exactly. So yes, the little sparkly blazer has to go with me. It's a whole thing. But I think that if you can come up with a staple, whether some educators just have like shoes. So like they're pretty basic. They do the basic attire, like you said, and then they have like shoes. Shero, what's your staple item?
Well, my shoes would just be, again, black shoes, mostly black, one pair of black, one pair of beige or tan colored, and then sneakers. I need to have sneakers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sneakers for sure. So now I'm going to pivot away from the fashion part, which I'm here for fashion. And the reason why I mentioned fashion too is because I'm not going to have a good conference if I'm not comfortable, or if I feel like I'm not comfortable in what I'm wearing. So I also have to bring that confidence. And for me, it comes from what I'm wearing. So that's why it's kind of becoming a fashion show. So what do I do to get?
I have a question. What about swags? I think I saw a comment there about swags. If you are to bring a lot of swags back, I mean, how do you deal with that?
Oh my gosh, great question. Okay, so this is my travel bag that I have. So I have a backpack that I have all of my clothes in, my cosmetic bag, everything goes in here. I also will throw in my other backpack that I have. That's to where I go into conferences with. Okay, so I come into the conference, I've got my laptop in there. I also have like this little guy here that has like my dongle and everything else that I need for a presentation. My external mouse, because I don't know where I would be without it. And then all of that just goes into my normal backpack. Now I'm pointing to it because it's what I use to work in. It's like my office. Now I shove that also into this bag here. And you can have typically using like 2 carry-ons. So those are my 2 carry-ons. Now this bag here, very, very light. So I do not pack a lot of it in there. So it does offer for more space for the swag. My cup runneth over when it comes to swag. So there's a lot of times where if somebody's like, hey, do you want this? I'm like, thank you so much. But I have to pass because I have a lot that I already give to my teachers. And so that's kind of something, but great question, because that is definitely a perk of going for sure. Now, one more kind of tip or kind of even product that I want to share. If I don't get enough sleep, I am cranky. I'm not going to have a good presentation. And so I honestly would love to hear some of your sleeping tips, because I feel like I can always learn in this realm. But something that I have done that really helps me is I actually had found these like noise canceling like silicone ear pieces. So they just stick inside your ear and then they mold to it and it blocks out everything. It is amazing. So that was one thing that I had to find. I actually, when I travel, I have a 5 and 7-year-old, and anytime they would make a noise, I'd be like, what do they need? Is everybody okay? So I put these in, especially even when I travel with my kiddos too as well. And it blocks out the noise. It blocks out everything and just kind of puts me in a good space so that I can get my good sleep, because we're on our feet all the time during conferences. So there's so much more, but those are just kind of like my highlights that I definitely wanted to make sure that I do. And first and foremost, always make sure that you take care of you. Because when you go to conferences, it's really easy to get wrapped up in, oh, I'm just going to skip lunch, or, oh, I'm just going to go here. You know, I don't need to worry about this. No, like you have to take time for you. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So if you aren't eating, if you are not dressed in the right way, all of that stuff is going to make you uncomfortable and put you a little bit more out of your comfort zone. So
I want to go back to the sleep tips, Stevie.
Yes.
There were some tips in the chat. Alex is saying
Calm app. Yes,
Calm
Sandy.
app. So that was going to be my tip. I do playlists. Obviously, you know, I have my Wakelet Team Party playlist and I have my workout playlist, but I also have a sleep playlist that I put on. And so a lot of times I will plug in headphones like this into my phone, so not my AirPods, and it helps me fall asleep. Interestingly enough, I don't even know if Amy's watching out there, but Amy and I usually room together for conferences. And so I will bring like melatonin, or I'll bring chamomile tea, or the other tip that I have, and I do a lot of times do a carry on, take one sleep like luxury item, so that you can sort of trick your subconscious brain into thinking that you're at home. So what I usually bring is my pillowcase, and I will just spray the laundry. Like I'll put our laundry soap and some water in, and I'll just spray it so that it just makes me think I'm at home. That is my tip. But it could be a blanket. You could stick that in your backpack.
Stuffed animal.
stuffed animal. It could be like pajamas. Like if you have special, like if you know, let's just say you have a giant robe and it is heavy. Maybe that is your one item. Just know you're not going to be able to get any swag back from Misty if that's where you're going. But
Cheryl, those are some great.
What tips do you have?
Mine is lavender spray because I love the smell of lavender, so it calms me down. Because my brain too, I have insomnia, so I like 3 hours sleep, even though I'm dragging the next day. That's just my life, right? But lavender helps to calm down, and tea, absolutely, chamomile tea is great. Or sometimes just meditation or even exercising.
Cheryl, I am not laughing at you. You have so many great tips. The chat is.
I was going to say something, but I'm not allowed to say that out here. So
the chat is cracking me up because they're saying, "Well, it feels like a fashion show, or it feels like Real Housewives times Wakelet crossover."
I saw that.
So here's what I want to tie in, because I'm going to tie it all together. Yeah. The truth of the matter is, if we do not take care of this part, right? Even if you're not going to a conference, but I think just the like self-care, like Stevie said, you're programmed as educators to be at everybody else's beck and call. And anytime you hear one thing, your like attention is pulled away. And I think it's really important. Sleep is so important. Sleep and stress, I feel like are the things, we joke about Stevie being team control, but she knows herself better. So she's putting this whole collection together with all of her items because she's just trying to get ahead of that stress before it happens, right? So some people in the chat want to bring their pillows. I really, the chat is, I'm not like, Cheryl, absolutely. Meditation. I believe in meditation so much. We could probably do a podcast, the three of us, about all of this.
I would subscribe.
Right.
I
was thinking they can tell us in the chat. You're just getting like the Tisha Shero like CV show today. But I was thinking that we should, in preparation for conferences this summer, the three of us should put together like a little video, like a TikTok CapCut type video. And then we could like show them out and compare them and tag our Wakelet collections. Cause I have a travel essentials collection as well.
But you were the one who inspired.
Is because I had no idea what I was doing. I will tell you another tip, and this is just for all of you, even just for your classrooms. But if you go to the dollar store, or in any of those little stores that have like pens or stationery, a lot of times you can find these super, super tiny containers. And when I'm saying tiny containers for like your toiletries, because that's always what gets me. Those are really, really cheap, and you can get a little bit of product in there. You don't need the whole thing. I don't know, Cheryl, if you're bringing all your shampoo, but do you need the whole shampoo?
So that's where I think I need to improve on.
Okay. I feel like the answer was yes.
The pants, like one pant, I have to repeat wearing it. So just a pair of pants, like a pair of slacks I always bring with me, it's a lot. So I'm learning from Stevie to like, oh, okay, I don't have to bring like 10 pairs of slacks.
Well so this is perfect.
That's what I was going to say.
Well, this is perfect time. Yeah.
It is. I was going to say, to segue in, do you, Stevie, in the same way that you put together your travel for conferences, are you using Wakelet for those conference, whether they're resources, or do you gather them in that way? Are you this organized when it comes to curating your session resources?
So that's a great question. And I've learned a lot from Shero on this one because she actually shared hers with me, and I am going to let her take the stage. So as we're kind of transitioning out, a funny story. So I always try to make sure that I also pack the essentials, and part of my essentials that came in my bag was a Band-Aid and a couple of Band-Aid. And so and this is another reason why you should have a strong PLN, is Shero had posted a picture of her poor feet or her poor heel and was like, oh my gosh, I'm bleeding. This is terrible. These were brand new shoes, which were super cute. Here for those. Yes. But she was like, oh my gosh, this is so terrible. And then I was like, hey girl, I'm at this room. Come, like, we will figure this out. And so sure enough, I was able to hand her a Band-Aid. So now I am ready to learn from you, Cheryl, about how amazing collections that you do when you head to conferences.
All right. And Stevie, I tell you, you're my lifesaver. So thank you so much. I will forever remember that and forever be grateful. So yeah, so segueing to what Stevie shared, I'll go ahead and share with you guys what I have here. So this is pretty much my Wakelet site. And you can find it at wakelet.com/@Shara Dickerson. So pretty much every time I attend conferences, I have used Wakelet as my hub to store all of these wonderful ideas, wonderful sessions. And before Wakelet, I call it before the dark ages, or during the dark ages, I should say that during the dark ages, I would just have several notes sprung everywhere, anywhere. And it was so hard to go back and remember, hey, what did I learn from all of these wonderful sessions I attended? So down here, you can see if we go to TCA convention, that happened just in February. I'm going to go ahead and click that. It lists down all pretty much my journal. And so what I do, I categorize my different sessions. So I have here like my EdTech leadership sessions that I attend, and any resources and my favorite presenters like Miguel Gullin, for example. I add their links that they put up there during their presentation or they share via QR code. It's all organized in here, and I'm able to go back to it and use it and share it with my teachers and with my staff. So if Stevie is team control when it comes to packing, I'm kind of crazy team control when it comes to putting notes and keeping my notes organized. So that's something that I learned, and Wakelet was a life-saving tool for me. I also have here a category for technology and school safety. So as a director with my position, it's important that I keep up with the latest and greatest when it comes to school safety, because that is part of my job duties and responsibilities. I also have the fun stuff, which is your digital learning resources. So I can plug in a Canva link. So if you click on this as site, for example, I hope you can see it. It goes back to another amazing presenter who shared about creating engaging instructional videos with immersive learning. And it was from a Canva site. So let me go back there again. And so you can pop in not only links, but also videos, your Google documents, even your Office documents. And you can even see here like a Google Doc, for example, on trade secrets, tips, tricks, and extensions to work smarter. So when you click on that, you are absolutely free to copy this and make your own copy. So then you can kind of see some different tools that you can use, and you can transfer that knowledge with your teachers if you are a teacher trainer, and also with your students, right? So pretty cool stuff that I can easily go back, like what I said, and remember what I've learned during that time, because every day goes by so quickly. And before you know it, when you head back to your school or to your district, a lot of other things happen, right? You got to put out fires, you got to teach, you got to train, you got to design lessons and professional development. So I feel very confident and secure that I can, I have a place to go back and recapture what I've learned from any conference that I go to, or even conferences that I present. So aside from that, we have also artificial intelligence. I know some of these information may not be as complete because there's so many things that happen with AI. But again, this is a site where I can keep on going and continue to add on. There's also a category for esports. So in my district, we're starting to build esports in my district. So we have a school that is close to the border. So El Paso is a border city. We're right next door to Juarez, Mexico. So we have a lot of schools situated on the south side. And talk about, diversity and ensuring that there is digital equity. I'm very happy that we're going to start the esports program at one of those schools, and it's in a middle school. So students then, who may be unmotivated to come to school will now have more reasons to come to school, right? Because they can learn a lot of different skills, from critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, with esports knowledge and skills. So that's pretty exciting. We also have here STEM resources. So you're absolutely free to look into these items. There's something on Discover Education. There's something on, again, things that you can use for your classroom teaching, activities for critical thinking. I also have here an area for literacy. And last but not the least, we also have some Microsoft tools here that you can use. So that is just one of, the one of many conferences that I support and also present. So what about you ladies? What are some of the things, like, do you remember your TCA experience? Like some of your sessions that you have attended or presented?
Yeah, honestly, I've been going to TCA for a really long time, all the way before Wakelet. I won't even tell you the exact year, but it was a long time ago. And we were putting all of our resources into a Google Doc, and sharing those out. And the problem with that, I mean, it's great. You think it's a great concept, but the problem is that whenever we came back, we would look at the document, but then what? I mean, it was just really hard to read and weed through the presentation. So we're having to click and open them again. I think that whenever I discovered Wakelet, I think TCA Shara was my very first PD like conference collection on a Wakelet. And I realized, oh, you can collaborate with all these people and like join in all the resources. And then what we did is just everybody in the chat was really loving your columns, how you have your columns laid out. We did the same thing, but we did it based on what we saw in that first column, like what presentations did we go to, all three of us. And then the next column was, what are we wanting to implement? How does that pair up with a district, strategy or whatever? And then we would make another column for like, I don't know, next year. And then we would make another column for, maybe in 5 years we can get to that. So it became a visual representation of our learning, which I think is really, really cool. But I have so many collections on my profile too, because it's just easy to pull them together. Stevie, what about you?
I love this idea, and especially because in some districts, you really have to justify why you are going to conferences. And if you have some portfolio that is like this and that is set up and you're like, here's everything that I learned, I feel like that's super helpful. Now, I am a very lucky person where I don't really feel like I have to justify. Yet what I want to do is I want to bring what I learned and share it with my district. And so a lot of times whenever I'm finished up with the conference, I'll sit down with my CTO and my team, and we'll kind of just go through all of the different resources and say like, okay, here's what we're going to pick from there. And I think that that's a great space for it's easily shared. You can, quickly go on there. And I have collaborated in a Google Doc before, but Tisha, you're right. Like everything just kind of got lost in there. And then I was like, this isn't really doing what I wanted to do. And so this is where Sharo and I are kind of like Microsoft girlies. So I really like kind of housing it also in OneNote. And I felt like that was super helpful, but it's not as visually appealing. And that was one thing that I love, that it already starts to auto-populate and kind of show up, which I like that component for sure.
Yes. And I'm glad, Stevie, you mentioned about OneNote. So I think there was one in here, and I'm trying to remember where I think it was ISTE. This was ISTE Live from last year. So here, what I did, I included my digital notebook. So I have here digital notebooks that are from OneNote. And so I added them as part of my columns in here. So again, I love the column layout. And what I did for ISTE last year, I have, again, looking at professional development, right? So I have a category for teachers, and there's my digital notebook, which connects to my OneNote. And there's also for librarians, for tech coaches, curriculum specialists, for principals, for technology coordinators, and even for superintendents. So that's the beauty of Wakelet, is that It's so visual, which I love, and I can even upload my own graphic design in Canva if I wanted to, or from Adobe Express. Sky's the limit. I mean, talk about interoperability, right? So it is like the hub where you can connect all of these different applications, and you don't have to give a lot of different links to people. You just tell them land on this page, and everything is in there, whether it is a Google slide, whether it's a OneNote. So have you done something like that as well, like in your presentations when you're using Wakelet?
Yeah, I've actually presented off of Wakelet before, and I've loved it. So I presented a lot on student-driven podcasts, and a lot of times I was just like, okay, I have to share this promo code, I have to share this PowerPoint presentation that I created, I have to share some of these like PDF docs, and where I found like the best way to share was from a Wakelet. So then that way it just automatically generates your QR code, so I don't have to go to an external QR code generator. I really enjoyed presenting off of it for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And even like any online session that you go to, or self-paced learning, like I'm going to mention here Adobe Express, for example. If I want to keep track, like talk about building your portfolio as a professional, right? If I want to keep track of all the different projects I'm doing, from all the challenges, whether it's a challenge from this particular application, I can build a Wakelet right away, because it keeps track of the timeline of the different projects that I have created. And so I just love this conversation, because it sparks, again, ideas in my head, like, oh, like what Tisha said earlier. The layout, the format that she was sharing, I can have names of my staff in a Wakelet collection, right? And then they can, depending on at what project we're working on, and see the progress, like who are the leads, what are some of the things that you have accomplished already, because our ultimate goal is to make sure that this project is delivered to the teachers. So that just came up, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to use that.
Any other tips that you guys have? We have a lot. There's a lot in the chat, but I didn't want to put all the comments up because I didn't want to hide Cheryl's face. She was presenting. So, but a lot of people are saying that they love your profile. I've shared that out with everybody. There's questions about them making a copy of your conference collection, Cheryl?
Yes, absolutely. So I can, I think
it should be copyable
yes,
already.
Yes.
So
yeah,
they should be seeing a copy button, but she doesn't see it because
she doesn't see it. So I have to enable it, right? So
you should already have it enabled. I checked it. Stevie, if you can click that link and maybe see if you can make a copy, but it should be copyable.
Is there something that I need to do special?
No, I believe it's already done. I just wanted to confirm. Alex Isaacs might be in the chat telling me it's working too, but we'll see. Any other templates, Cheryl, that you want to share out that you might have?
So what I'm currently, let me see what I have here. So right here, you can see how I keep up with my portfolio, right? So as a Wakelet ambassador, of course, it's an honor to be a Wakelet ambassador. It really is, because I get to connect with these wonderful humans right here. And of course, with you guys on the chat. And I get to learn, continuous learning. That's the key, so that you don't lose your flavor as an educator. No matter how many years you spend in the business, you got to keep on making things exciting, and you have control over that. Okay, so I always make sure that I keep up with it by ensuring that everything that I'm modeling right here are, again, to support my, again, talk about justification. These are my evidence or my artifacts that I am dedicated as a Wakelet ambassador. So you can see here, how many times I have put together different sessions. I've also been able to copy some of the resources, duplicate them, and apply them in my own sessions. So let's say every time I introduce Wakelet to teachers, I get to build this, very easily. And I'm even mentoring one of my young IT trainers. She doesn't know I'm showing her picture right now, but that's okay. And you can see here, again, all these resources that we have obtained from Wakelet, we're reusing it. And it really is very powerful and helpful because teachers go back and view, so I play around a lot with the layout and whatever would be very easy for people to use. This one I think would be my most updated let's create, curate, and collaborate with Wakelet resource page, because again, I love the column layout. It's just so easy to follow. And again, I categorize all the different resources that Wakelet have, as well as resources whenever I go to the explore button when you're logged into Wakelet, and I try to look at all the different examples of Wakelet collections from fellow educators. And I'm like, oh, I love this collection. So I keep on adding them and make it accessible to my teachers. So you can see here the templates. I love it. Look at all these reflection templates, feedback templates, Q&As. I mean, using all different applications and again, resources, right? And for lesson planning, reading list, the sky's the limit. And there's just, a world of possibilities when it comes to Wakelet. So, and also there's so many things that I know all of us will work on, will create. There's just more ideas coming up. So I'm just excited that Wakelet is here and Wakelet is to stay.
So I have a question for all of you. Those of you in the chat, you should see the collection link and you should see the certificate link. Along with Stevie's profile, Chero's profile. But I have a question for the two of you and everybody in the chat. And those of you that are saying you hear feedback, yes. But we're almost done. You won't hear it the whole time. If I was putting together a Wakelet collection called Work-Life Balance Toolkit, okay, what would be your first item? If you could only share one item, one link, one photo, one tip, Work-Life Balance Toolkit to send out to the educators, what would you add?
That's kind of hard.
Okay, so I am going to share one that I heard, and this one was an article that I had read, and it was called Work-Life Fit. So we're trying to get out of this whole work-life balance consideration of saying like, okay, well, I need to balance my life into my work life, and it just needs to be a good fit. And so how do you start setting those parameters and those boundaries to say, I'm not going to answer that email after 3. I'm not going to put Outlook on my phone because then I know when I get those emails, it's going to ruin my family time. So a lot of times what I've been doing is kind of taking those steps of like quieting down my digital notifications so I can be more present in the moment with my family.
That's a really good one. I don't know that a lot of people know this, but I do not have any notifications on my phone. Nothing is turned on except text messages, and I have people in specific groups. And you may or may not be muted, Alex Isaacs. I'm just kidding. No, I do sometimes have to mute conversations if I'm in large group text messages, which is difficult for my ADHD. So again, that is just something that I would say. Stevie's absolutely right. I think the other thing the thing that I would add would be, so this is going to be so funny. I'm sure you guys are going to have comments all summer at conferences about what I'm about to tell you. But there is something about this lady called Southern ASMR, and it's ridiculous. She records herself going like to the store, like Dollar Tree, and she organizes the shelves, and you can like watch her do this. And something about my ADHD, it calms my brain down, makes me go right to sleep. So I would say find the thing that is going to make your brain just become mush, because the truth of the matter is you guys are running all the time, 100 miles an hour every single day, whether you're at school or you're at home or you're with friends. And you do need those times where your brain just becomes mush, right? You're just listening to people type on the keyboard or something like really mundane. Cheryl, what's yours?
Mine would be when I turn off my device, it's going back to old school, reading books. I have a pile of books, so I love reading books too. But I notice because of my time taken away by my work, I forget about my books. So I need to make sure there's a certain time, like at 5 o'clock, you're ready out of the office, you're done, turn it off. Guess what? We're going to do something creative. We're going to go read books. and enjoy the story, and you take time reading it. And so I enjoy that.
I think you need to have accountability partners to do that, right? Like I can intend to go to the sunset every day, and I have an Alexa reminder and a Siri reminder to remind me to go to the sunset, set to sunset every day, go watch the sunset. But I think having accountability, and you said it, both of you have said it, the PLN is so important. And I think if you don't have that, like, reach out to us. We'll be part of your PLN. We'll keep you accountable. We'll keep you accountable with everything, Alex. I saw Alex likes to take his pillow. I was thinking, if Stevie wanted to take her pillow, how would that even work?
Stevie wouldn't take her pillow.
See, I knew that was going to be your answer. Well, I am so glad that I got to hang out with you guys. We're ending a little bit earlier than we anticipated, but hopefully you got a lot out of the both shares. Stevie and Cheryl, thank you for sharing. I bet you we're going to put together a mind or a work-life, what did you call it? Work-life fit toolkit for everybody. So we'll be working on that and put that together so we can share that out. Ladies, would you help me do that?
Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you all for joining. As soon as we are finished and the ladies give you their last piece of advice, because I'm going to have you send them off with something good for the summer, I'm going to put the certificate link and the collection link back in the chat. And we will see you for the next Wakelet webinar. If you haven't signed up for Community Week, do that. Stevie and Cheryl, what are your tips for these educators?
My tip is just going to be, and I've noticed the theme is just always fill your cup before you can fill others. So always make sure that you are taking that time and that intentionality on making sure that you are doing what brings you joy first, rather than the tasks that we have to do, especially when it's your time.
And also, don't be too hard on yourself. Take a moment every morning to think, whether that be something spiritual, something inspirational, and take a moment to take a deep breath, and always remember you got this, because you are meant to be in this world, to be where you're at for a reason and for a purpose. So keep on carrying on, guys.
That was amazing. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you again soon. Bye.